They're redistributing wealth, not fighting inflation. Again, y'all know I talk about this to ad nauseum. This is about control. This is the Great Reset. This is about dismantling the middle class. They want to get rid of the middle class where they have a two-class system, the have and the have-nots, and that's what this whole thing is about. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. And there's also a link to the rest of my socials, my Instagram, where I'm very, very active, and I put out tons of news throughout the day, and my Twitter, so check those out. All right, let's talk about this news. Biden celebrates Inflation Reduction Act as food rent prices climb. It's crazy. Everything is expensive now. Biden threw a party to celebrate the Inflation Reduction Act on the White House South Lawn, even as the latest figures showed that the core inflation has continued to rise. Grocery prices had the steepest increase since 1979. Rent prices shot up again, and medical costs are escalating. And I talked about all that last week. But even the most loyal media lapdogs could hardly stand this festival of lies. CNN cut away from Biden's mask of ready to show what was happening to the stock market. Reuters acidly headlined its coverage, quote, Biden celebrates Inflation Reduction Act as food rent prices climb. So what's there to celebrate? The Inflation Reduction Act is a lie. It doesn't reduce inflation, it actually gooses it. The IRA is another inflationary leftist spending boondoggle that throws billions at green energy and $80 billion at the IRS to audit the middle class in the hopes of balancing out some of the crony cash. A week after signing the IRA, Biden announced a $1 trillion loan bailout for his party's base of perpetual grad students, like the Inflation Reduction Act. This was a massive wealth transfer. Audit the middle class and send the checks to Tesla drivers and sociology grad students. Raise inflation rates with inflationary spending and transfer some of the wealth over to welfare voters. That's what the White House was really celebrating. And the worse inflation gets, the closer Biden and his administration get to their true objectives. The Biden administration isn't fighting inflation, it's deliberately increasing it as its cronies in the Federal Reserve hammer home new interest rate hikes to force the economy into a recession. And y'all know I've been saying this from the get-go, from the offset of this. That was his plan in general. But this two-step dance destroys savings, wrecks investments, and allows for a massive wealth transfer to Democrat donors, special interests, and voters. The more that the Democrat majority spends, the worse inflation gets, and the more justification there is for higher rates. It's circular reasoning they're using here. If a recession arrives, which I think is already here, there'll be even more justification for government wealth transfers. It's crazy. That's good news that brought James Taylor to the White House and got Joe Biden to put on his best 80 shades and party like it's 1929. Biden announced that he wanted to be FDR. You can't be FDR without a Great Depression, even if you have to create it every step of the way. And that's what I think it is. I think we're already in a recession, getting ready to head into a depression, and they're definitely not talking about that. Quote, I'm kind of in the position that FDR was, Biden modestly claimed. FDR's position was to use the Soviet Union and Mussolini's Italy as templates for dramatically transforming America through massive spending, socialist controls, and crackdowns on conservative political opponents. And we're seeing that now. So far, Biden has managed 2 out of 3. The Biden administration is not here to save the economy, so that titular figureheads can retire to a Delaware basement and then drool softly into a Dixie cup for the next decade. The formula has always been really simple: create a crisis, worsen it, then exploit it. That's the problem, reaction, solution stuff that I talk about all the time, the Hegelian dialectic that this about. Until America has been destroyed and there's no freedom, only the omnipotent state. It's honest. Socialists like Bernie Sanders would at least admit that they're trying to replace the economy with socialism while pursuing massive wealth redistribution. Biden claims to be trying to fix it by giving his base more spending money, while interest rate hikes push the economy into a recession in order to keep people from spending more money. A recent paper by prominent economists warned that unfettered government spending would lead to, quote, a vicious circle of rising nominal interest rates, rising inflation, economic stagflation. So they know this. They know what their policies are creating. That's how I know this is on purpose. But whether that's a vicious circle or a virtuous circle is a matter of perspective. From the standpoint of any normal person, it's a vicious circle. But from the standpoint of a socialist, it's a grand opportunity to Cloward-Piven the economy as we know it into the abyss, and make a whole lot of money for an army of political connected special interests. Biden is pretending that he's a firefighter when, like FDR, he actually is an arsonist in a big helmet and black boots. Inflation is one of the fires being fed to justify tighter government controls and interventions that reduce economic independence and redistribute wealth. Devaluing money is the traditional tool for totalitarian leftist regimes. Runaway inflation provides them with a pretext for interventions such as wage and price controls, both of which were rolled out during the COVID-19 lockdowns on an unprecedented scale and still continue to be statewide. Inflation is not the administration's enemy. It's the best tool for wrecking what's left of free enterprise. That's what it's all about, is getting rid of capitalism, getting rid of free enterprise. How do you get Americans to accept price controls? Keep feeding inflation so that the price of everyday goods of gas and housing climb out of reach of even the middle class. The Biden administration deliberately pushed up gas prices, threatened the industry with price controls, and then dumped oil from the reserve into the market. That was a trial run, and I couldn't believe he got away with getting rid of diminishing our reserves just so we can save a couple pennies. So was the baby formula crisis, in which the FDA shut down production, and then the Biden administration stepped in to fly in formula from overseas. These trial runs involve government intervention, creating artificial scarcity or higher prices by intervening in the production process, shutting down plants or oil and gas leases, and then stumping in to reshape the marketplace. Problem, reaction, solution. And they are the ones creating the problem. While inflation is a useful tool, it's not the only one. The EPA, CDC, FDA, USDA, and numerous government agencies with virtually unchecked regulatory powers can dramatically change product availability and price at the macro level, leading to demand for further interventions. COVID lockdowns were the patient zero of the new economy. Seemingly irrational and unjust measures shut down small businesses while allowing Amazon and major retailers to roll on. So they pick and chose winners and losers. That's what socialism is all about. The government picks the winners and the losers. But there was nothing irrational about it. This was a deliberate strategy to further consolidate the retail sector, concentrating the pain among small businesses before offering them temporary subsidies and narrowing their retail pipeline to put it even further under government control. Labor disputes in rail lines and UPS allowed Democrat unions to shut down the supply chain. But as they used to say on television, this was only a test. Socialism on a much broader scale than we have seen is being tested. As destructive as these tests were, that's still what they are. They're just tests. The big stuff is coming. Anyone living under actual socialism can tell you that it can get much worse and will. When that happens, Biden will throw an even bigger party and we'll be the ones paying for it. So let me know what you think about all this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.